My name is Uma Das.
I'm Ann Cox.
Sophie Gardner.
Emma McKay.
Shohini Ghosh.
Mercedes Martinson.
I'm Sylvia Torres Peinbert.
I come from India.
From the east coast of Canada.
From Ghana.
From Berlin.
From Tunisia.
I'm from Germany.
Ecuador.
Mexico City.
I teach physics at Eckerd College.
I am a professor at Wilfrid Laurier University.
I am the physicist on staff.
I work at the University of Buenos Aires. I am a physicist.
I'm the executive officer of the American Association of Physics Teachers, and I'm a physicist.
I was always a math and sciencey kid, but I liked English and reading, so I spent most of my time reading growing up. I didn't do science experiments, I didn't have a chemistry kit or anything. I liked to cook, but I didn't do science, really. I read lots of novels. So then I took physics class in high school, and when I told the physics teacher that I wanted to study physics, his mouth dropped open. And I never knew whether he thought I couldn't do it, or he was so pleased that he had inspired somebody to study physics, or what the deal was.
I had this wonderful physics teacher. He showed us this simple experiment, like hold a piece of paper and blow it on top and the paper actually comes up. That's the Bernoulli's principle. I just knew that I like physics, I enjoy understanding things. It's like you actually look around you and understand how things work, and then you're just happy.
I fell in love with science with Mr. Merle. He was a 6'7" motorcycle rider with a very long beard, and he loved science. It was like in his eyes that he loved science, and I was convinced I wanted to do science then.
I got into physics, I can't say for any particular reason. I was born a year after Sputnik, and it was that age when science was exciting.
I became interested in science somewhere in high school because there was a chemistry teacher that was very engaging and very inspiring.
I've almost always wanted to be a physicist. When I was 12 years old, I picked up a copy of Discover magazine that my mother had gotten as a subscription for my older brother. And I read about Albert Einstein and the twin paradox, and I thought it was amazing that we could know so much about the world, and so specifically.
So I thought that it was a normal thing. I thought that what you did at the dinner table was talk about what makes the sky blue and why rainbows are colored the way they are. I thought everybody had this conversation, and I didn't think it was unusual for women, for girls at that time, to study physics.
Both my parents are physicists, so I did grow up knowing very clearly that women are quite capable, because my mom is a professor of physics and has done very well for herself. My dad works for NASA, and my grandfather worked as a professor of physics in Illinois. So it's kind of been we like to call it the family business.
My father was a physicist, and he really got me started and interested in science. And I liked physics so much, I stuck with it. I loved it. It was great fun.
I mean, where else do you get to play with toys in demonstrations? You get to work with your hands, you get to use mathematics, and you get to make models of the real world.
The main core of physics is to look at nature, extract the main features, and then make models to see how that works.
I started out my interest in science pretty young. I went to space camp. I wanted a rock polisher for Christmas.
I told my mom that I wanted to be a physicist, and she said, "Oh, if you'll be a physicist, you'll be stuck all day in a room with a bunch of nerdy boys." I went, I don't know who you think I am, Mom, but I'm pretty sure I'm like the biggest nerd ever.
Although I didn't know that physics existed as a career, I had a very clear picture of what I wanted to do. Since I was a kid, I liked doing experiments, even just, taking plants and making juices of these things and trying to see if they would work as a glue or things like this.
Why did I start physics? Well, generally because I'm interested in things and how things work.
You find out that you can transform a material that was originally a semiconductor, for instance, into a metal just by playing with atoms. I find that very exciting.
The most fascinating thing is that you really work as you would work with Lego, putting little building blocks together. But these building blocks are very small, they are atoms and molecules, and you have to convince them to go to the places where you want them to be. And so you have to be creative at times in thinking of ways how you can persuade them to do what you want them to do.
Even though I chose physics without knowing what it was going to be, I found it to be very, very attractive and very creative. And so I can make a living of a very creative type of field and where I can put a lot of passion.
I went to college, to a small college, and I walked into my introductory physics course because I liked math and I thought, well, let's do physics. I walked in and it was a very small class. There were 12 of us in the class because this was for people who might be physics majors, and my professor, who was old and male, looked at the room and he said, physics is something few men and no women understand. And that was enough motivation for me to try to prove him wrong. And so by the time I got to senior year, I was the only physics major left out of that group of 12.
There are so many males who I've met who went into physics because they wanted to go into science, but they didn't really like biology and they didn't really like chemistry. Why not physics? It's like, really? You got in and that was how much you loved physics? I don't know if we're on the same level here.
So the nuclear interview, I came in, there was this long table, right, with like 20 men sitting at it, and I had to sit at the head of the table, and they started grilling me. Then they kind of argued, right, that the nuclear guys thought I didn't do very well, and the high energy people wanted to hire me. So then I talked with just several of the nuclear people, but in really small groups, and that went way better. And so they're not allowed to interview people like that anymore.
Well, I never encountered any overt discrimination, but the subtle stuff I didn't notice really until I got into grad school. And graduate school is hard for lots of reasons. I mean, the material itself is very challenging. You go through classes, you work really hard, and then on top of that, I encountered people who would tell me that I was only there because I was a woman. I only passed the candidacy exam because I was a woman. They felt sorry for me. And this completely eroded my self-confidence, and I spent many months trying to tell myself I did it. I did the work. I knew the physics. I passed it.
I had never felt discrimination against me. I always felt that I was treated equally as other men. But then when I collected the data, I found all these things that were pointing that there was a problem, particularly what is called the glass ceiling. And so there are all these social issues that affect the way that the work of a woman is perceived. Not because they do a research of less quality, but they have less visibility.
The quality of the average female physics student is better than the quality of the average male student, because we don't go for it unless we really, really love it.
It is afterwards that I started feeling the gender-related issues or unconscious bias, which I now understand as unconscious bias. When these things were going on, I was not quite sure of it. But I was very lucky to have a few friends who really supported me when I was not the best person to keep company with, and I used to sink low.
What's helped me along the way are many mentors. Most of my mentors have been men, but they understand the importance of diversity in physics and and really supporting women to accomplish their goals in physics.
It's finding the people around you that really helps. And yeah, I mean, you can't really do stuff on your own. It's nice to have support. And if you do have support, I find that you end up getting further along, simply because you build a network of people that are willing to push you forward.
You feel like, wow, that's what I wanted to do. That is really interesting me, then hear at that voice in you and not in this fear or this voices from the outside. Yeah, that just do it.
Not everything comes easy, but if you persist and you are convinced of something, very often you go a bit further than other people who have given up before, and then you have a very nice result.
Be yourself, keep going, it's all worth it, and you're gonna have a lot of fun doing it.
I think that more women need to go into leadership positions, not to behave as men, but to bring a new way of behaving and think that there is not only one way of doing things, only one way of doing science, that there are many ways, they are all very valuable.
I mean, everyone can do physics. You don't have to be a genius to do physics. So you should just maybe go make some things at home with your hands, or you ask questions to your parents, you tell the boys that they're stupid because they say you don't know physics. So
eventually you're going to grow up and being a nerd will be fine. You'll be cool.
One thing I would probably have told a younger me, starting out in her undergrad, was to get involved as much as you could. Because the knowledge that you gather will be amplified by the knowledge you gather from other people.
I love my job, yeah. I really like the people that I work with. It's a challenge. There's something new every day.
I ended up pursuing my PhD in physics, but it was on NASA fellowships. And I got to do work for NASA. Every day now we're producing hardware and it's just sitting out on the floor because we're going back into space again. And I'm just really excited to be able to be a part of that. And I never would have thought that my physics degree would be what took me there.
I think the thing about physics, what makes it so fun, is every day I get to play. It's like my playground. There's so many neat pieces of equipment that I can use to come up with some great answers to questions that I have about how things work.
I think physics is a great career. I think it's a great life. I think teaching physics is a terrific experience. And if you like things about learning about the world and how it works, and you find mathematics not scary, physics is a great choice because it's just a lot of fun.